Go.
What? Who pressed that? I'm the sound guy on this deck. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris and his brother, Ron.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, shit.
Welcome back to Movies with Ron.
This is your weekly podcast where not only do we kind of review the movie, maybe a little story snobbery, but we just go through the whole movie from beginning to end. And it's kind of like, well, it's better than going to the movies. That's the whole reason why I started this.
Damn right, it is better.
Now, I want to bring something up. I posted something to the Facebook page, Movies with Ron Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that movie Hook?
Of course.
Yeah, it's a like Steven Spielberg movie. It's kind of like a sequel to Peter Pan, but it's live action. It's got Robin Williams. He plays like Peter Pan. Forgot who he was. It turned 25 years old this month.
Hey, happy birthday, Hook.
Yeah.
Man.
You guys remember that movie? We got memories from that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody remembers that.
Okay. Entertainment Weekly got all of the Lost Boys from that movie and got them together and put them in their old costumes from Hook.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Have you guys seen this picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Show it?
There.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Rufio got fat. He's all right, though.
Hey, you know what? Love Rufio.
Yeah.
God, thank you, Entertainment Weekly.
Rufio.
Oh. The guy who's like, he lost him good. He got thin. We got any Hook quotes out there?
Prison Popper. Mung Tongue.
Prison Barber.
You rude, crude, lewd bag of pre-chewed food, dude.
You know what?
I've just had an apostrophe.
I think you mean an epiphany.
Don't you dare try to stop me, Smee. Try to stop me. You better get up off your ass. I am committing suicide.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but our sister...
Gotta fly. What about her?
We had this routine where that movie would be playing and I would stand up in front of the TV and I would, like, put my hands up in front of it like I was interacting with it. Like, remember when the window latch that was in the shape of the hook was turning? I used to, like, stand up in front of it and, like, act like I was turning it.
I remember that shit.
And, like, twirling the shit on the ceiling and stuff.
And we might have some young listeners out there. Hook may have been before your time, which is hard to believe. But if you haven't seen Hook, go check it out.
Please.
All right. Ron,
Yes?
what'd you go see?
Sausage party.
Oh, shit.
Hell yeah.
Hey, I went to the movies yesterday, but I went to go see old art house theater was playing The Third Man, which is an old Orson Welles movie.
Mm-hmm.
These people are standing in front of me. They're talking to the ticket guy. And the ticket guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're all sold out." And I'm like, "What? What the fuck?" This old movie. And they end up going inside doing something. I go up to the ticket guy and I'm like, "The Third Man is sold out?" And he's like, No, Sausage Party's sold out. I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's probably a good movie. All right.
Dude, it was good. It was funny as hell.
All right, so what happened?
Like in the movie?
Was it sold out?
You are going to have to explain this, because
No, it wasn't sold out, but it was pretty crowded.
Okay.
I've only seen, like, one or two previews. Vaguely remember it.
So me and Heather went to the dollar store to buy candy.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like, loaded her purse with shit. And, like, we're leaving the movie and we're like, oh, God. It's all gross. I'm never eating the fucking candy ever again. All right, so I saw a couple of previews. There was one that was of particular note.
Okay.
Bad Santa 2.
I heard about this.
Yeah, man. Looks funny. They got all the same old actors. They even got that kid that played Thurman.
Thurman Merman.
And he's 21 in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And in the preview, Bad Santa's trying to get him laid. And he takes him to that fat hooker from the first one who was like, hell no, the last time I didn't shit right for a week.
Oh, God.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And he's got him in the room with her, and he's like running out screaming. That was funny.
I read an interview about that movie with Thurman Bourbon.
Uh-huh.
He gained all that weight. He was like kind of skinny, and he like got fat because
Really?
he was like, "Holy shit, they need me." He gained
Really?
weight. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think he moved on with some career or something.
Yeah,
But he was more than willing to come back for that movie.
that's great.
Rest in peace, Bernie Mac.
Yeah, good old Bernie Mac. Heather just got a shocked look on her face. Apparently she did not know Bernie Mac was passed.
She's looking it up.
Sorry, babe. They made another Resident Evil movie.
Jesus.
It's coming out in theaters.
Oh my god.
It's called Resident Evil: The Final Chapter.
Good Lord.
Yeah, same old shit.
Are we going to do an episode on that?
I was thinking about that when it was on, and I was like, it's probably going to come out on a weekend when like nothing else is out. So, yeah, probably. And I'm going to have to go back and watch all that shit.
All right. So who are the main?
We should do it live.
The main people are all the fucking, I don't know, just a bunch of assholes. And then, what's her name?
Mila Jovovich.
Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, that 60-year-old chick.
Yeah.
She's 60?
I don't know. She's definitely too old to be in movies.
What?
What?
Too old?
Resident Evil movies. Come on.
Okay.
We should remake Resident Evil and not ask for permission.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. We should do that.
Fill it with like shit and fuck.
We need to play that first game again.
Oh my god.
How are we going to do the giant snake?
We can do it.
Ask Frank Darabont how he did the snake Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, I love that part.
That was cool.
We can do it. I'll be in the suit. I'll do it.
That was such a cool part in that game, too.
Snake.
I bring up remaking it. How are we going to do that snake? You know how they did it in the first Resident Evil movie? They didn't have it. They had a bunch of lasers
That's why ours is gonna
coming
be
down
better.
a hallway.
Oh yeah,
That was it.
chopping people into cubes.
All right. You know anything about this sausage party?
I heard it was sexist and racist and super hilarious, and there's a big orgy in it.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's pretty much it.
Wow.
Episode's over.
Sounds like fun.
Well, one guy online was like, there's a bag of flour, but the bag is personified, but the sausages are wrapped in plastic, but the plastic is not personified, just the sausages are.
What the
Yeah. I actually thought about
He
that
couldn't
myself.
connect with the story logic. I don't know. I mean, the lack of story logic.
Yeah, seriously. Like at one point, there's like Oreo cookies walking around in that scene with the flour.
Yeah.
There's like that scene is like Omaha Beach in Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, I heard about that.
There's
Yeah.
like "Ee," and everybody's like picking up their guts and shit, and like they show an Oreo cookie walking around, and he like picks up a cookie part of him and then turns around and his backside cookie is missing. And then later on in the movie, I see a box of cookies on the shelf and it's got a face. And I was like, what? Oh, shit. All right, so we'll get there.
All right.
Okay, so sausage party. So we see the Sony logo. Then we open up to an exterior shot of Shopwell's Supermarket, and it's an empty parking lot. It's like before the store opens up. Okay, and then we see inside, and we go right to the hot dogs, and they are a brand of hot dogs called Fancy Dogs. And it's funny though because they never once call them hot dogs in the movie. They are called sausages. And their package has a bunch of little tuxedos like on the wrapper.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're all wearing tuxedos. And they're like, all right, it's time to start the song. So then all the food in the supermarket starts singing this song, and the song is called Dear Gods. And they're singing to the humans who they call gods. And they're like, Dear Gods, take us to the great beyond. And it's like this whole religion of theirs that when they walk out the doors of the supermarket, which are like all like blinding bright,
Yeah.
that they're going like to heaven. And the song is all fucked up, and I really wish I could remember all the words, but This movie is fucking full of swearing, okay? If they're talking, they're swearing.
Yeah.
And the song is all like, we're totally pretty fucking sure that nothing fucked up is gonna happen when we get to the great beyond. And they're all singing, and like it's showing all this different food. And one thing that stood out was there was this bottle of German mustard, okay? And it's all Nazified. Yeah. And he's singing about exterminating the juice. He's like, we will exterminate the juice. Okay, so then the song ends up ending, and then we see the buns that are next to the sausages, to the fancy dogs, and they're called glamour buns. And you know what? They're hot dog buns, but they're real pretty, and they've got like slight boobs.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're all talking about how great it's going to be. You know, they're finally going to get chosen by the gods because Red, White, and Blue Day is here. Okay. Yeah, and they're on the 4th of July, set up in the store. And in the package of fancy dogs is Frank. He's all the way on the right. And then right next to him is this little short deformed hot dog. It's like a factory reject that made it into the package, and his name's Barry. And Frank is voiced by Seth Rogan.
Yeah. Can we talk about Seth Rogan for a second?
Sure.
Preacher has no plot.
What did you do?
Okay, go on.
I like Preacher.
What's the deformed dog's name?
Barry.
Now, who does the voice of Barry?
Michael Cera.
Okay.
This movie has almost all of the actors, almost all of the big six from This Is the End in it. The only one that's missing is that little guy that was, kind of the leader of the story. What's his name? Jay Baruchel?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the only one not in it. So there you go. He's like fitting in with what was happening in This Is the End. He's like the odd man out.
Yeah.
Everybody's having fun without him.
Oh, he's got his own show now.
Yeah, does he? Oh, that's right.
Man Seeking Woman.
That is a good show, though.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, so, Barry is there, and there's another hot dog next to him named Carl, and he's voiced by Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill's like he's like, all right, come on, we're gonna go, we're gonna get laid, we're finally gonna get to fill up buns. And Frank's like, yeah, my girlfriend Brenda, she's in the package next to me, and yep, she's right there at the left side of her package, so they are right next to each other, and they're sitting there talking about how they're finally gonna get to fuck. And he's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna spread your buns and get inside. She's like, yeah, you're gonna fill me up. And he's like, yeah, I'm really nervous though, because I've never fucked, so I'm a little worried about how I'm gonna perform. And she's like, I'm sure you're gonna be fine. And they're like totally sure that they're gonna get chosen together because of Red, White, and Blue Day. So then you hear Carl talking to Frank, and he's like, hey man, what the hell? Why would you want to do that to yourself? Your girlfriend. He was, being a dick, and then Brenda said something smart to him or whatever, and he was like, hey, man, I just want to tell you, your girlfriend, she's cute and all, but, man, she's a bitch. And why would you want to limit yourself to just one bun anyway? And Frank's like, fuck that. And, okay, so then elsewhere in the store, people are, food's getting picked up, and there's this bottle of honey mustard that got chosen by some guy.
Can you see humans?
Yeah.
Are they talking?
No, they usually don't. I mean, they do talk, but you don't really hear them like while all of the food's talking.
Okay.
We'll get to that part of the mythology, who can be understood and stuff like that. So this honey mustard is like, I've been chosen, and they're like, yeah, he's chosen, and he goes off in the guy's bag, and then he ends up coming back. The guy brings him back. He's like, listen, I got home, and I thought I bought regular mustard, and it turns out it was honey mustard. So, can I just switch it out? And then the girl at the register is like, I don't give a fuck what you do. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. So then he goes and he puts the honey mustard back on the shelf, and the honey mustard has like PTSD. And he's all like, oh my God, I'm so fucked up. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. And people are like, get a hold of yourself. He's like, don't fucking touch me. You guys are so fucking dumb. You have no fucking idea what's happening out there. And then like up above him at the very, very top of the aisle, you see this bottle of liquor that is like decorated like a Native American.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's like looking at him and he's like, you need to just shut the fuck up and don't fucking say anything to anybody. God damn it. And he's like, oh my God. Okay. And that bottle of liquor's name is Firewater. And he's like, oh Jesus, I'm so fucked up. So then the dogs and the buns, they get chosen together. And they get picked up by some lady who has like a big fat ass. And they make a point to show this. And they're all in the shopping cart together. And then all the other food in the shopping cart is like, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to the great beyond. Fuck yeah. And then she picks up this product that at first glance looks like maybe like a toilet brush in like a cradle that it sits down in. Turns out, no, it's a douche. Okay. Maybe it's because I don't know what that shit looks like. Anyway, douche is voiced by Nick Kroll. You know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay, if you remember that show, what's that show with Chris Pratt and that show you loved?
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. He was in Parks and Rec, and he played a character called the Douche.
All right. Okay.
He played a radio host named the Douche, so he does the voice of the douche. Okay, and he's all like, yeah, come on, motherfuckers. Yeah, now we're gonna get some. Fuck yeah. See that lady? Yeah, I'm gonna be all up inside of her. And they're like showing these close-up shots of this woman's crotch. And it's like, yeah, it looks good. And then she's like itching it. Okay. And then she's looking at her list and she's like, oh yeah, and honey mustard. And then she goes over and grabs the PTSD honey mustard. And he's like, no. And so he's in the shopping cart with him. And Frank and Brenda are like, oh, fuck, oh my God, it's going to happen, babe. And while they were on the shelf, they had like, you know what? I just can't wait. Let's do it. Let's just get a little taste. How about just the tip? Just the tip. So they like both stick their hands outside of their package and then they just touch fingertips. And later they're like, we touched tips. Okay. And so they're in they're talking about how much in love they are in the shopping cart. And then Honey Mustard starts freaking out. And he's like, no, that's it, man. You know what? You don't understand what's going to happen. It's mayhem. It's murder. It's chaos. Everything. It's horrible. And they're all like, man, you need to calm down. And Frank is like, listen, Honey Mustard, you need to chill, man. Come on. He's like, nah, fuck that. And he's like, they're not getting me. And he gets up to the very front of the shopping cart. And he's like looking down like he's about to swan dive. Okay. And they show like a POV shot from the floor. And he's like, he just leans over and falls. Like to commit suicide. Frank splits his package open and jumps out and grabs him. Now all the food has hands and feet.
Okay.
Okay. And all of their hands, they're little white gloves. Okay. And then little brown shoes. So he jumps down and he grabs Honey Mustard. Okay. And then he is going to fall. So then Brenda jumps out of her package and grabs him. And then they're all like, oh shit. They're just hanging like this rope of people or food.
Yeah.
Okay. And Honey Mustard's like, what the fuck are you doing? Let me go, you dumb shits. And everybody's like, no, come on, we gotta save him. And he's like, fuck that. And all right, so then the lady actually, he's hanging, right? And she ends up bumping baskets with another shopper. Okay. And then that's what makes the Honey Mustard fall and crash. And he's dead. And then you see like some blueberries like that are still in the store on the shelves, and they get like splattered with him. And they're like, oh God, they're all traumatized. And then like something happened. They all start falling out of the cart because of all the crashed during the wreckage. And then this big bag of flour that you were just talking about falls. And then he hits and he crashes. And as soon as he crashes onto the ground, all you hear is and then everything is just white dust in the air, and you see all this food that's crashed on the ground, and like there's like a can of like spaghetti, like Chef Boyardee type spaghetti, and he's like picking up his noodles. He's like laying there, he's like holding his noodles in his hand, and then there's like a jar of peanut butter that's like next to a broken jar of fucking jelly. And it turns out that they were husband and wife.
Oh god.
And he's like, I'm gonna fix you. And he's like, he wipes his face with his hand, and there's like just this big jelly smear on his face. And he's all freaking out. And that's where you see the Oreo cookie walking around, like all dazed. And he picks up a cookie and he turns around and it's missing from his back. And Frank is like walking. I almost said sausage. Sausage is walking around. Okay, Frank is walking around like all dazed, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" You know. And then he turns, and then there's Brenda. Just all of a sudden comes out of the fog, and she's like, "Come on, move!" And then he starts running with her, and then the cart is like already moving again, and they're like trying to outrun the wheels. And like there's like a bag of chips that gets stuck under the wheel, and he's like, "Ah!" And he pops, and then all of these chip shards just like just fly across the whole like battle scene, and like people are getting stabbed, you know, with all this shrapnel.
Yeah.
And then you see Douche, and he's on the ground, and he's all like his spout, his nozzle is like all like bent up. And he's like, "Oh God, what's happening to me? I'm all fucked up." And like, they're never gonna want me now. And he gets swept up, and he gets thrown into the garbage. Because the lady had gone to the she'd gone to the checkout aisle, and she's talking to the manager who was open up, who's like this snot-nosed long hair punk. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I dropped a couple of things back there, except for that douche. That's not mine. I don't know who dropped that." And then he just gets on the intercom, and he's like, "Clean up on aisle 6. This MILF dropped a douche." And she's like, "It's not mine, but did you call me MILF? Thank you." So then, in the aftermath, everything's calming down, and Frank is like, you jumped out of your package for me?" to Brenda. And she's like, "Yeah, well, of course. There's no great beyond without you." And they're like, "Oh, I love you." So that's the whole thing, is like, I thought that this movie was gonna be like all of them get chosen, and then they go to the house, and you see all the big mayhem, like where everybody's getting eaten.
Yeah.
But they're the only two that didn't do that. They're stuck in the store.
Okay.
Okay. It's like basically the whole movie happens inside the supermarket. And they're like, "Yeah, we touched tips." Talking about that shit. So then they run into these two fellas. One of them's a bagel, and the other is a lavash. Do you know what that is?
No.
Almost nobody does. They actually talk about that in the movie later. Anyway, it's like a Middle Eastern flatbread. Okay. And the lavash is Middle Eastern. Okay. And the bagel is Jewish. The bagel is named Sammy Bagel Jr., and he is voiced by Edward Norton, who is doing his damnedest. Okay. He is doing the greatest Woody Allen impression I've ever heard.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I never knew it was Edward Norton until the end of the movie. The lavash is named Kareem Abdul-Lavash. He's voiced by David Krumholtz. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay. Shit. Look him up. It's from a show called Numbers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he, doesn't sound like he looks either. He sounds like a big Middle Eastern man when he's doing the voice.
David Krumholtz is Jewish.
Yeah.
James Franco is in this?
Yeah, he plays the stoner.
All right.
Okay, so the bagel and the lavash are talking, and they don't like each other, obviously. And the lavash gets all sexist and shit about the bun. He's like, "You are just a stupid, useless bun." Okay, and you know what? You need to cover up. That's your problem. You have no modesty. You need to. And they just show a big shot of her tits, of her bun tits, and then she's like, "Fuck you, you flappy fuck." Okay, Brenda is done by Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Okay, the one and only. And then so Sammy Bagel Jr. is talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I apologize. You seem like very nice people. Not like this Meshuggah cunt over here talking about lavash." So they're like, "Okay, well, what do we do now?" They're stuck. They're all out of their packages, and they're stuck in the store, and it's closing. So they decide that they're going to climb a shelf and
They didn't get swept up?
get the lay of the land. No.
Okay.
They ran.
Oh.
And so they're going to climb a shelf and get a bird's eye view. At that point, we see the dumpster outside, or in the loading dock or something like that, and fucking douche climbs out of it. And he's all fucked up and bent up. And he's like, oh, shit, man, I'm all fucked up. Man, my nozzle is all fucked up. It's all bent and shit. My nos, it's fucked up. Now I got no purpose, and I'm like, oh, shit, I'm leaking my juice out. And he's got this, like, slit on his body, and all of his, like, blue goo has all leaked out of him. And so he's like, no one's going to want to shove me inside of him now. What the hell am I going to do? And he's walking by, and he finds this juice box. And the name of the juice is Juicius Maximus. And it's grape juice. And he's sitting there, and he's like, oh, God, I'm dying. Oh, shit. I'm fucked up. I'm all fucked up. And he's like, hey, man, chill out. It's going to be okay. And then he looks down, and he's like, oh, shit, you're bleeding right out of your dick. And, like, that's where the hole is in the box. It's just, like, right where his dick is. And it's a hole. And then the douche is like, oh, shit. I got an idea. And then he just, like, picks the juice box up by his legs, okay? And then you see it from the point of view of the juice box. And you just see the douche like, all right, if you tell anybody about this, you fucking motherfucker. And then he just like starts sucking it. And he like fills up with the juice box's grape juice. And then it starts leaking out of his cut on the side. So then he like rips a sticker off of the juice box that says juiced up. And he like seals himself with it. And he's like, now to go and get my fucking revenge on that fucking sausage. This is all his fucking fault. And
is he the bad guy?
Yeah, he's the bad guy of the movie.
Wow.
So then, and his arms are like a little bit more bigger now. He's got like Popeye, forearms now. They're like kind of a little bit muscly. All right, so he's like gaining strength, like the more he fills himself up. So then we see Frank and Brenda, and they're looking at the view from the top of the shelf, and it just looks like, it's weird the way the store is set up. It looks like a little fucking city. Okay. Because there's like all the different aisles for all the different like types of food. Like there's like the Indian food aisle, the Mexican food aisle, and stuff like that. And then there's the liquor store aisle, and that's all like, and there's like a huge party going on, and it's like across the store, so it's like across town. And while they were still struggling, the honey mustard had told Frank, he's like, yeah, you don't believe me? You don't believe me what's going on? You need to go and fucking ask Firewater. Go ask that motherfucker, and he will fucking prove it to you about what I'm talking about. The gods aren't what we think they are. Mm-hmm. And so then Frank looks over at the liquor store aisle, and it's like, and there's like lights, okay? And he's like, so, and then they look over to the right, and they see their red, white, and blue section, and he's like, I'm thinking we should cut through the liquor store aisle, and then we can make it home. And she's like, that's like way out of our fucking way, you fucking idiot. And he's like, no, let's do this. And so they go there, and it's just this huge fucking party, okay? And all these bottles of liquor and cans of beer are all just fucking dancing and shit. And like they're all out of their packages, and like the bagel is like, every one of these fuckers is out of their packages. And what are they doing? Because it's like a sin to get out of your package. And that's what happens in the liquor store aisle. Or in the liquor aisle every night. So they all just get out of their packages and fuck off.
Yeah.
So then they find this little cave, which is just made out of like boxes and shit. And it's Firewater's cave. So Frank is like, okay, well, I'm going to go in here and talk to Firewater. So you want to come? And Brenda's like, yeah, no. Okay. And she's getting hit on by, like Jamaican rum and stuff like that. And getting hit on by everybody that sees her. And so she's like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't want to fucking do this. So just hurry the fuck up, go talk to Firewater, and then come out and let's go home. And he's like, yeah, okay. So he goes inside, and it's like the inside of a fucking teepee. Yeah. Okay, there's just a fire in the middle, and then Firewater is sitting there like smoking weed out of a fucking kazoo. Okay, and he's got this little roll-on deodorant sitting next to him who's just like banging on a drum. And Firewater and Frank start talking, and he's like, oh, yeah. I can totally show you the truth. And Firewater is actually voiced by Bill Hader. Okay. And he's like, yeah, I can show you the truth of the gods, of what's happening. You just have to look into my bag of secrets here. You have to look deep into it. And he's like, yeah? And he's like, yeah, you must look deep into the bag. And he like looks down in the bag, doesn't see anything. It's just dark in there. And he's like, I don't see nothing. He's like, look deeper, my friend. And he just like sticks his head in the bag. He's like, yeah, stick your head all the way in. Yeah, go ahead. And he goes in a little deeper, and then Firewater just like pushes him in the fucking bag and shuts it. And then you just hear him and a couple of other guys talking about like, come on, let's kill this motherfucker. Let's fucking, he already knows too much. Let's cut him. I got a knife. Let's cut him. And it's like, oh, you can't kill him, man. Then we're no better than the gods or whatever. He's like, fine, fuck it. Let him out. And then they let him out of the bag, and it's Firewater, and then there is a box of grits named Mr. Grits, okay? And then there's a fucking Twinkie. Like out of its package.
Okay.
And the Twinkie has hair made out of the cream. Okay, and his name is Twink. Oh, by the way, Honey Mustard was voiced by fucking Danny McBride. Okay.
I gotta go see this movie.
Yeah, you guys both gotta go see this. The Twinkie is voiced by some writer, I think, but Mr. Grits is voiced by Craig Robinson.
Oh, okay.
So he's talking about them, and they're like, yeah, we're the non-perishables, you know? And they're like, he's like, non-perishables? What do you mean? And he's like, we're immortal. And it turns out where they are is that they're actually stuck in between, like, shelves. So, like, they can stay there forever if they want. And they've been there for, like, fucking years.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, because Twink is a Twinkie.
Yeah.
He's non-perishable. And they're like, yeah, you know, everything's all fucked up, you know? Yeah, it's not the way that it seems. And so Mr. Grits here, yeah, well, what's your story, Mr. Grits? And he's like, yeah, I had a great fucking spot, you know, on my shelf. It was wonderful. And then those fucking crackers, they fucking came along, and then fucking crackers made me fucking leave. They kicked me out of my fucking spot. God damn it, I'm gonna fucking kill them crackers. Okay, so he hates crackers. Meanwhile, it shows Brenda outside, and this bottle of tequila walks up to her. He's like, hey, excuse me, are you traveling with a sausage? And she's like, yeah, I am, actually. And he's like, oh, I know where he is. He is looking for you. I know where he is. I can take you to him. And she's like, okay, thank you. Because he's been gone for like 55 minutes. And like, he's really just been in there like smoking weed with them. Okay. You know, listening to their fucked up shit. And tequila takes Brenda into the Mexican food aisle. And it's just like this, it looks like this like dusty little town. And they go into this fucking saloon. And in the saloon is this taco, who is voiced by Selma Hayek. And she's a lesbian taco. And she's like in love with Brenda. She like can't stop staring at her ass and shit. And she's like, listen, you know, you cannot be here. This is a trap. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, come with me. And the fucking bagel and the lavash are with her as well. And she stuffs them all into a closet, and she's in there with them. And they're watching out through the closet. And then they're like, who is it? Who's coming to get us? And she's like, Il Duce. And then Douche fucking walks into the fucking saloon, and he's like, where is he? Where is Brenda? Where's the bun? You said she was in here. Where the fuck is she? And the tequila bottle is like, oh, man, she was just here, man. I'm serious. And he's like, yeah, you fucking lying to me, you son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, all right, chill. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. And then he just like picks him up and breaks him, okay, kills him. And then he drinks the tequila. And like, then he like gets bigger, okay. And his eyes get like all like bloodshot, and his arms get even more muscly. And he does not have any legs. He like walks on his hands. Okay, so they're all huge now, and so he drinks the tequila, and then we go back to to Frank. He's in there smoking weed with them, and they're like, "Yeah, we invented the great beyond." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" Well, because you know, if everybody knew what was going on, you know, it would be chaos. Everybody would be all fucked up. So we invented it, and we wrote that song. You know, and he's like, Firewater, you wrote that song? You know, the song that they sing every morning?
Yeah.
And he's like, we base our life by that song, you know, like, it's all a lie? And he's like, yeah, it's all totally a lie. And I did write, well, you know what? I wrote the music, okay? But, you know, Twink here, he's my lyricist. And Twinkie's like, yeah. And he's like, really? You wrote the whole thing? He's like, nah, man, it's actually been changed a lot, okay? This morning, I heard some guy talking about eradicating juice, right? Like, no, I did not write that shit, okay? I love juice, all right? And so then he shows what has been happening in a cartoon flashback. And you see, you know, food getting eaten by humans and stuff like that. And so he's like, yeah, you know what? If you need proof, I want you to go to the dark aisle in the store. It's beyond the ice. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, go there and you'll have all of the proof that you need. And he's like, all right. So then he walks out of the cave. And then we go to the home of the woman who bought everybody in the cart earlier. Okay. And now the hot dog package is there, and so are the glamour buns, but they're both opened a little bit. Okay. Now in the hot dog package, it's just like all the guys in the back row, and then it's Carl and Barry. Okay. And he's like, oh man, oh my God, I'm finally going to get to fuck. And he's like trying to stand up all tall to like look normal. And he's like, yeah, man, don't worry. It's going to be fine. And then there's like this bully hot dog behind him who's like, yeah, fucking 3-inch Barry. And he's like hitting him and shit like that. And so then they're all like happy. And then the lady goes and picks up a potato. And he's like covered in eyes. Okay. And he's like, oh, I've been chosen. I'm the first one to be chosen by the gods. And they're like, yeah, go, potato, go, go. And he's like, yeah. And then he's getting washed in the sink. And he's like, I'm being washed by the hands of a god. And it's all wonderful. And then he's like, oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. And then she just holds up the potato skinner or the knife or whatever and just starts skinning him. And he's like, oh my God, Jesus, fuck. And he's like, she's skinning me alive. And then she like puts him into boiling water. And he's like, and he fucking dies. And everybody starts freaking out. You know, this is all stuff you saw from the trailer. But, you know, you see the baby carrots and they're like, oh my God, they're all freaking out. And they're like running, and 2 of them are running. It shows them running. Dun, 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 dun. And they're going to jump off of the counter. And then in human time, you see it's just like 2 carrots rolling towards the edge of the counter. Then the lady just catches them and fucking eats them. And they're all like, oh my God, they're eating children. Oh, fuck. And then you see this tomato, and he's like, oh God. And she's just chopping him up. Okay. And then she opens a pack of chips. Okay. All the chips are personified. Okay. But the bag was not. And she lays them all on a plate, and then she takes a block of cheese, who is personified, and she just starts grating him and all over the chips, and they're like, what the fuck? And then she puts them in the microwave, and then they're all like covered in melted cheese, and they're fucking burning and shit. And it's all awful, and it's, you know, mayhem and shit. So then Carl is like, fuck this, Barry, we're getting the fuck out of here. And they start running for the window, and they run to the edge of the window, and they're looking down, and they're gonna jump, but it's like a really far drop, and Barry's like scared, and then Carl's like, forget it, man, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna be just fine, all right, ready? And then Barry's like, yeah, okay. And then the camera's on Barry, and then you just hear shing, and he like looks to his left, and then Carl's like still standing there, and he's like kind of still talk a little bit, and there's a fucking knife sticking out of his chest. And then behind him you see the woman who has just like stabbed a hot dog through with a butcher knife. Okay. And then she just like moves the knife upwards. And he just like slices, and then he just like peels over.
Splits open.
Yeah. Which actually reminds me of something at the Omaha Beach scene with the flower. There was a banana in the cart, and he had fallen out, and he had a face, you know? And then, you know, Frank was looking at him, and then his peel just like fell forward, and then underneath the face was just like the holes like for his skull. So this kind of reminded me of that. So Carl dies, and then she goes to try to stab Barry, and then he like jumps or whatever, and so it cuts away, and it cuts to Brenda, and she's talking about oh my God, you know, I can't believe it. You know, we even touched tips, and the taco shell is now with her. Mm-hmm. With her and the bagel and the lavash. So they're all like bread products.
So is the taco like an already made taco?
No, just a taco shell.
Oh, okay.
And they're walking down this tunnel that's like, you know, between the shelves of the aisle. Then behind them, dun dun dun, there's Douche. And he's like, I found you, you fucking bitch. I'm coming to get you. And then he just starts running towards them, and they just gotta fucking run. And they run, and they get to the exit out into the rest of the store, and like lavash makes it through, and the fucking bagel makes it through, and the taco makes it through, and then the bun is like too fat to get through. But she's not fat, you know, she's just like big and puffy like a hot dog bun. And she's like, oh, God. Oh, no, he's going to get me. He's going to get me. And he's coming for her. And then Taco was like, get butter. And then, I don't know. Lavash and the bagel, they're just like pulling on her. And then she comes through. And then Douche is definitely too big to get through. So he's like, I'll fucking get you, you little bitch. And your fucking hot dog, too, or some shit. And she's like, oh, my God, we made it. We made it. Like me and you, Taco. And then fucking Taco Shell is like, okay, let's not start eating each other's boxes just yet. And then it cuts to little Barry, and he is running through the streets of the human world, okay? And he's running past just what you would see as garbage in the street, but it's like, you know, like a can of soda, like an empty soda can, but it's like got like arms and legs and it's dead, okay, to him. And then he's looking off in the distance, and he's like, oh my God, sausage. It's a sausage. And then it shows like a sausage that's laying on the ground, you know, but it's far away. So he's running towards it. And as you get near it, it's a log of shit with all this corn stuck in it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, sausage. Oh, wait. Oh, what? And then all of the corn just like, they all wake up and turn to him, and they're all zombies. And they're all like, and he's like, oh my God. And he runs. And then he's talking to this used condom, you know, because it's not just food, okay? It's like all products, you know, because of the douche, obviously.
Yeah.
All products from the store are alive. And he's like, oh, God, it put me, you're never going to believe what they did with me. And he's just like a used condom, like talking like a fucking deflated snake on the street. And then he sees these two people, humans walking, and they're talking to each other. And, it switches to, human time. And he's like, yeah, man, listen, there's this stoner and then there's this drug dealer. And the stoner is like, yeah, I'll take it. And he drops a bag down that has the Shopwell's logo on it. And you see the Barry, and he's like, oh, man, maybe he can take me home. Mm-hmm. And then it goes back to the humans talking, and he's like, yeah, now be careful, man, because this bath salts, this is some serious shit. And the stoner is like, oh, yeah, man, it's cool. Thanks, man. The stoner is voiced by James Franco.
Okay.
And so then he goes and he gets in his car, and the Barry is like, running. He's trying to get to the car. He's trying to get inside. And he just misses it and misses the door shutting. But the guy's shoelace is hanging out of the car, so he grabs onto it. And he goes home with him. And then it cuts to, like the Chinatown aisle. And there's all these, like, num-num noodles. And that's where Frank finds Brenda. And he's like, listen, the gods, they kill us. He's trying to tell her. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, we need to go to the dark aisle. It's beyond the ice, to find the proof, And she's like, no, what the fuck? No, I'm not going there. I'm going home, okay? I'm going back to the red, white, and blue display, all right? Yeah. You were supposed to be taking me there, and now you've been gone off, like, smoking weed and shit like that, and, getting baked, and what the fuck? And he's like, come on, we gotta go. We gotta go to the dark aisle. And she's like, I'm not going there. And he's like, well, I'm not going there. And they like start to have a breakup talk. And she's like, fine. You know what? That's fine. I'm going to go. I'm going to get into some other package. And then I'm going to get chosen. I'm going to go to the great beyond. And I'm just going to fill myself up with something else. And he's like, don't talk like that. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to fill myself up with like a big old parsnip or like a dill pickle. And he's like, no. And she's like, ooh, an eggplant. And he's like, you could never fit an eggplant inside of you. It's too big. It would split you open. And she's like, oh, yeah. You know what? Why stop there? Why not a big old tube of toothpaste? Yeah, right in between me. Okay? And he's like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah. And then I'll squeeze him, and he'll like goo all over me, all over my face. And he's like, don't say that. And then they just like part ways. And like, it's like they broke up. And you just hear, and I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. And the song keeps playing. And then you see a package of Meatloaf singing the song. He's like singing it. And Frank is having like visions of Brenda in the great beyond, hanging out with, while the song is playing, like hanging out with a fucking parsnip and a big old dill pickle, and they're all like having an orgy, and then there's a big old eggplant. And you just see the eggplant like lay Brenda down and fucking spread her legs. Okay, and he's like, no. So then it cuts to Barry, who is now in the stoner's house, and it's all like a shithole. And the guy's like, yeah, you know what? Everybody's warned me not to do this, but I don't give a shit. So here we go. And then he like looks up, he looks at some paper or whatever, and it says how to shoot salts. And he fucking like busts out a spoon and his fucking like little marijuana leaf Zippo, and he starts cooking it like heroin. And then he fucking shoots it up, and he's like, ah, and he's, you know, he's all like fucked up and high and shit. And then Barry is like trying to get past him, and he's like he's like inching like a worm and stuff. And then every time it shows it from the human perspective, it's just like a little sausage rolling across the table. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, oh man, and he's looking at his hands, and he's got all these trails going back and forth, and he's like, holy shit, it's like, wow, these bath salts are taking effect, man. And then he looks beyond his hands, and then he sees Barry with his face and his hands and his feet. And because of the bath salt high, he can see the food.
Holy
He
shit.
can see the real life of the groceries. And he's like, oh my God, what the fuck? And Barry's like, what the fuck? You can understand me? And he's like, holy shit. And he's like, you can understand me? And they start fucking talking.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the other food, like in his house, is like talking to him and shit. And there's like a bag of chips and I don't know, like a slice of pizza, like that's like half eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bath salts will show the real world of groceries. And they all start like coming to the stoner, and they're like, wow, he can understand us now. And he gets all scared, like there's too many of them now. They're coming, they're getting too close. And so he's like, oh, I'm freaking out. And he's like, what do I do? And then Barry is like, I'll tell you what you're going to do. And he like gets all forceful with him. And he's like, and he like points at the shopping bag, and he's like, you're going to take me home. And he's like, oh yeah, I totally will. Just right after I rest my eyes. And he passes out. And while he's passed out, there's like a joke about, you know, what this guy's going, what's happening with him and stuff, what he's been doing to everybody. And like, yeah, he just throws us around and shit. And then you hear this one voice go, oh God, you don't want to know what he's been doing with me. And then they all look to the left, and it's like a half-gone roll of toilet paper. Like, why? What did he do? And he's like, you don't want to know. All right, so then we cut back to the grocery store, and it's in the Indian food aisle. And the two breads, Bagel and Lavash, they start talking about how much they don't like each other and what it was like in their home. And Bagel is like, yeah, you know, when I get home, it's gonna be so great. Everybody's gonna be there, you know. Gefilte fish is gonna be there. So and so's gonna be there. Oh, and hummus. Oh, my good friend hummus. And then Lavash is like, you know hummus? And he's like, yeah. Well, hummus is a very good friend of mine. He's like, hummus is a very good friend of mine too. And then they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we are not so different. It's like, I still fucking hate you, though.
Oh my God.
And so then they see it. They see the bagel aisle. And he's like, my homeland. And they're like, yeah. So then they like say goodbye. And the Lavash and the Bagel go and get up in their shelves. And they're like, you know, Bagel is there, and Gefilte Fish is like talking to him. He's like, oh my God, you were hanging out with that Lavash? Tell me, you know, did he, I don't know, was it awful? And he's like, yeah, it was totally awful. And then he looks over at Lavash like, oh, like he misses him a little. And then Lavash is there, and he's being talked to by some other Middle Eastern food, and it's like, did that infidel put his hands on you? And what did he steal from you? And he's like, and then Lavash is like, everything. And he's looking over at Bagel like they miss each other, like they're buddies. Okay. And then the taco shell is saying goodbye to Brenda, and she's like, yeah, listen, I'm fine. I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to come out with it. I'm going to tell you, I have feelings for you. And then Brenda's like, oh, I have good feelings for you too. Like good feelings? And she's like, no, like crotch feelings. And she's like, oh. No, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't do that. Maybe in another world, okay? But I just think the gods don't want that, so I'm just going to go and I'm going to get, I'm just going to go. And so she leaves her and it cuts back to in the stoner's apartment. And all of the food, including Barry, are sitting there like looking at a map of the town. And they're all like, what? How the hell does this thing even work? It's just a map. Okay. And then you hear this, perhaps I could be of assistance. And like they look and Barry's like, who the hell is that? And it's like, oh man, no, he's the smartest food ever. Okay. And he's here and he's going to help you. And he's like, well, what's his name? And then you hear the robot voice, and he's like, my name is... And he starts saying a bunch of chemicals. Like he's like listing off his ingredients or something. And he's behind a bong, so you can't see him clearly. And then at the end of it, he's like, he rolls out from in front of it, and he goes, but you can call me Gum. And he's a chewed up piece of gum. And he's in an electric wheelchair that's made out of like a 9-volt battery and like parts of some camera or some shit like that. And he's wearing glasses and he's like Stephen Hawking. Okay, so he's like talking with a computer. And he like explains to them, about the map. And he's like, this is the human world and this is what's going on. And yes, if you can get to the, if you can wake up the human, he can take you in his car and then he can take you back to Shopwell's and the whole round trip will take 9 minutes. And he's like, yeah, thanks. You could have just said that. All right, but thanks. And so then the guy, he goes up and he gets in the guy's ear. And he's like, wake up, motherfucker. Come on, wake up. And he's like jammed into his ear. And then the guy wakes up. Okay. And he's like, oh, my God. And he pulls this little hot dog out of his ear. And now he's like, he's like come down.
Yeah.
So he can't see them anymore. And he's like, what the fuck? And there's just like this little mutant short hot dog on his pillow. And he's like, man, them bath salts, man, they gave me the munchies. And he like picks up the hot dog and he walks into the kitchen and he turns on some boiling water. And you just see Barry going like, no.
Oh,
and he puts him over the boiling water and then it cuts away. Okay. And it cuts to the dark aisle where Frank has finally shown up. And he's walking around and it's all dark and mysterious. And then, the closer he gets into it, you start seeing that it's like cooking utensils, like forks and knives and shit.
Okay.
And then you see like all of these sharp knives,
Yeah.
all these knife sets and everything. And he's like, what the fuck is this? And it's like a place of darkness and it's all like red and black. And he like starts climbing this mountain, which is just like a big knife display. And he gets up to the top and it's cookbooks. And he's like, no. And he's like, what the fuck is this? And he's reading through the pages and stuff. And it's just like pictures of people eating food, but to his food eyes, it's like murder.
Yeah.
Like every all the food in the pictures is like screaming and shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit, I gotta warn him. And then it cuts to the bread and everybody's at home in their packages. And Brenda is like, she like squeezes into a different package. Okay, but she's an extra bun. So then she's like jamming herself in there and all the other buns, because all the buns are females. And they're all like, oh, what are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. And she's like, no, come on. Oh, there we go. And she like squishes up against this one bun who gets all they call like mashed up and like shortened. So like you're like, oh man, she'd be perfect for Barry if he didn't just die,
Oh.
And so douche is now all like totally jacked up. It just shows him and he's like walking up to liquor bottles and like opening them up and just drinking them. And he's like all totally jacked. And then you see Frank and he goes down to the front of the store and he points like one of the security cameras at himself and he's typing on the computer and then he gets himself on all of the TVs in the store and he starts talking to the food and he's like, you know what? This is it. The gods, they're eating us. There is no great beyond. They're eating us and they're fucking killing us. And he's like, look, and he shows them the pictures and all the food is like horrified and stuff, but they kind of turn on him and they're like, fuck you. I don't want to believe that. So you're saying like, there's no point to our existence, You insensitive prick. Why would you do that? You just ruined all of our lives. You know what? I'd rather believe in the great beyond. How about that? And like they all turn on him, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, no. So we can believe that shit, or we can believe in the nice great beyond, and all the gods are going to take care of us when we leave. I pick that. And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck you. Screw you. You're still fucking insensitive of other people's beliefs." And then it shows the Hitler mustard, and he's like, "You intolerant prick." So then now it's opening time, okay? And the manager is coming in, and everybody's like, "Come on, are we going to sing the song? Are we going to sing?" And it's always the Korn that starts it off.
Yeah.
And so like Frank is looking at the Korn. He's like, "Don't you fucking do it, Korn." And Korn's like looking at him, and he's looking at the rest of them. It's like real ears of corn, not like cans. Okay. And he's like, and he's like, "Don't you fucking dare." And then the Korn just goes, "Dear gods," and starts singing a song. And he's like, "Son of a bitch." So then it shows Brenda in her package, stuffed into that extra package, and she gets chosen. And she's in a basket, and the lady's checking out. And so Frank is losing Brenda. And so he's like, "Oh shit. Fireball." So then Frank's like, "Oh shit, what the fuck am I gonna do now?" And then you hear Barry, and he's like, "You bet your sweet butthole we're gonna get you, it's me, and we're gonna get your girlfriend back." And he's like, "What the fuck? How the fuck are you back here?" And he's like, "Oh no, check it out. It's fine. You can get her back." And then you hear this ding 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 ding, and then coming out of the vent above them, the fucking stoner, his head just like plops out of the vent onto the top of the shelf in the aisle. His severed dead ass head.
Good Lord.
Okay, and Frank is like, "What the fuck?" It's like, what are you fucking doing? And Barry's like, "It's cool, man. You can tell them all. We got to spread the word. We do got to warn everybody. Gods can be killed." And he's like, "What the fuck?" And then Barry, who is now like fucking swinging dick because he's like been on this huge adventure and he's now back in the store, he walks up to the dead guy's face and he starts flapping his bottom lip like he's talking for him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look, I'm a stupid fucking idiot. Why don't I tell you the story of my stupid fucking death?" And then it shows what happened.
Okay.
And the guy was about to drop him into the boiling water, and then he wiggled out of his grasp and fell to the floor. Mm-hmm. And so then the guy, who is still like kind of stoned, he's like, "Oh shit," and he bends over to pick him up, and as he's bending over, he hits the handle of the pot of the boiling water, which then spills onto him and burns him, and he's like, "Ah, fuck," and he's like slipping in the water, and then Barry just like grabs his shoelace and fucking pulls it. And then fucking the guy just like slips down onto his back, and he's like, "Oh," and he hits the ground real hard. And then up above him, he's like some like stupid teenage stoner or whatever, like 20-something stoner. So he's got some nerd battle axe like on his wall, and it just goes and then falls and fucking cuts his head off. And that was it. And that's how Barry like won.
Sweet.
And so he's like, "You know what? You can get all of them. You can turn the tide. Okay, you can tell them all the truth and get them. You just have to be, better about it. You got to inspire them." And he's like, "Well, how the hell am I going to do that?" And then you just hear, "Perhaps I can help you with that." And Barry has brought Gum and everybody else.
Sweet.
And he's like, "Who the fuck is that?" And then Gum starts saying his name again. And it's like 7 or 8 words long. And then Barry's just like, "Fucking call him Gum, all right?" And he looks at Gum and he's like, "Just tell people your name is Gum, okay?" And they're like, "All right, we're going to do this." And the store is open now and people are shopping, obviously, because Brenda's still in the checkout. And he's like, "All right, let's do it. Let's go to work." And they're all walking away. And then you see like the bag of chips and the pizza, and they're carrying the bag of bath salts. And so now they're all loading up bow and arrows that are made out of like toothpicks and shit and rubber bands, and they're dipping all of the toothpicks in the cooked bath salts because they brought the spoon and the fucking Zippo too. And they're dipping their arrows in it, and then they're just like, "Fire!" And then they just pew, and they're shooting these toothpicks at every human in the store. Every human gets shot with them, but like to the humans, it's just a little toothpick.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sticks in them a little bit, and they just like swat it away, and so nothing happens. And they're like, "Oh man, what the fuck? You said this was gonna work." And then Brenda is getting checked out, and she is about to leave, and so Frank is like, "Oh shit, how do I stop it?" And he looks down at the front doors, and he sees the 2 latches at the bottoms of the doors.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh shit, I'll lock the door." Then the people start to get high, and they start to see all the fucking food for like that's all alive and everything.
Yeah.
And they're all they all start flipping out, and then you see Frank, and he has blown up like a balloon with helium or something, or I don't know, just air. Anyway, he is sitting on it, and then they let it go, and the balloon just starts flying around, and he's like, "This is never gonna work," and he's flying by, and he lands at the doors and he locks them. So then there's this, there's Frank, and the lady who was buying Brenda like sees that he's alive, and she's like trying to stomp on him or something like that. And then Brenda gets out, and she like pulls the human's hair, and she's like, "Stay away from my sausage, you fucking skank." So now they're all like, they're all going crazy, and all the people are going nuts. And then Frank gets on the TV again, and he's like, "We can do it. We can unite against them." And he's all like hopeful and hope inspiring and everything. And then all the food and all the groceries and the people, they all just start attacking each other, and it's like fucking mayhem. Okay, all the people are crazy on bath salts. They're all trapped inside, and I think Frank and Brenda, yeah, they were getting cornered by some human, and then something gets thrown at the human, and the human turns around, and then there's Bagel and Lavash, and they're like, "Fuck with them, and you fuck with us, bitch." And so like now they all start fucking attacking and everything, and even Gum is like joining the fighting, and he's all like, "Suck my pink cock." And now there's this not bad guy, it's a fucking human who's high on bath salts, and he's running through the candy aisle, and then Frank is like, "Come on, get in the fight, you candy asses." And then all the candy just like fucking goes after this human, and they're like throwing licorice ropes around him and stuff like that and holding him down. And then you see at the top of the shelf there is a big giant 2-liter bottle of Diet Cola, and he's like sitting there talking. He's like, "It's now or never, we gotta do it." And his name is like Sergeant Pepper or something like that. And he's like, "We gotta do it, son, it's now or never." And next to him is a roll of Mentos.
Oh shit.
And now the candy all has the human strapped down to the floor, and he's like, "That's it, it's time, it's now or never." And then the Mentos guy is like, "All right, shit," because he's like sacrificing himself. And so like he just like, and his package has a face, so he just like opens up his package, and then a whole bunch of his mints just like fall out, and they fall down into the guy's mouth. And then Diet Cola just fucking pops his top and then jumps and dives head first and lands the bottle right into the dude's mouth. And then there's this big explosion of bubbles and shit, and the dude's head just explodes. Okay, the food is killing the humans, like for real. And
Do we see douche at all?
douche is coming.
Okay.
And now you hear all the fruit and all the produce, and they're all talking. They're like, "Come on, fruit, get in the action, fruit. We need you in the fight." And then you hear the fruit going, "The fruits are a go." And then you hear, "Ba-doom the jitterbug." And it's all like, that song starts playing. And jitterbug into my heart. And like all of the fucking fruit are just fucking attacking people. And it's just fucking total war. And there's like fire and shit. And then you see Meatloaf like on a little motorcycle or of some sort, and he's just like flying through the fire, like on the cover of one of his albums or something, like Bat Out of Hell.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he's like riding through the flames. And then we see Douche, and Douche has cornered the manager of the store, the guy who was like, "The MILF dropped a douche." And he knows what's happening, and he is underneath the register, and he's trying to open the lockbox, and he's like struggling with it, and he's trying to open it up. And then Douche comes up behind him, and he's like, "Yeah, well, a hole's a hole, I mean, it's a guy, but, I've done worse so far, so fuck it. And then the manager gets what he wants out of the box, and it's a gun. And he's like, gonna defend himself with this gun. And then the douche just jumps up the guy's asshole, and he's like in his pants, and his nozzle is up the guy's ass, and his fly is open so douche can see out of his zipper, so he can see what's going on, and he controls the man by grabbing and pulling on his scrotum with his hands.
Oh shit.
Okay, and he's like making the guy do what he wants.
Oh shit.
Okay, so everybody sees what's happening, and they all just start attacking him. Okay, and then
Oh, is douche still wanting to kill
Frank.
Yeah, okay.
So then Frank he joins in the fight, and then douche ends up grabbing with his own hands, grabbing onto Frank. And so now we see the manager standing there waving a gun in the air with his fly open and this hot dog hanging off of it. It just looks like his dick. And he starts trying to pull him off out of the douche's grasp. Like, get this thing fucking off of me. And it just looks like he's sitting there jacking off. Okay. And then the douche is like, fuck you, fucking leave him alone, he's mine. And he's like sitting there talking to Frank, and he's like, you're never gonna fucking believe everything that you've put me through. And then he just takes a bite out of Frank, and Frank's like, no, and he's got this little bite mark out of him. And then the manager was gonna shoot the Frank, and he's like, say goodbye to this sausage. And that's when douche was like, nah, he's mine. And he like pushes his hand away, and then the gun actually fires, and the bullet goes through gum. And now there's like this big fucking gaping hole in him, and his glasses are all like disheveled. And then you're just like, oh shit, gum got shot. And then the gum starts like going back together, and you see the hole closing, and you hear, no shit, da-dun, dun, da-dun. Da-dun, dun, da-dun. He's like, you can't kill me, bitch. So then Barry's walking around, and he looks, and he sees some propane tanks, and like in the chaos they're leaking, and you can see the gas flowing out of them. And so then then the fight is still happening between Frank and the shopping cart, or Frank and the douche. And so then you see what Barry had done, and he had gotten all of the food to strap the propane tanks to a shopping cart, and then they lit them, and so it just starts flying through the fucking supermarket like a fucking rocket, and then it goes and it hits the manager. He flies into the basket. Douche is still up his ass. Frank jumps out of the way, and the shopping basket just rockets out of the skylight of the store and then explodes in the air. And it's like, looks like fireworks, like 4th of July. And they're like, happy red, white, and blue day. So then
all right,
we see all of the food are like, yeah, we've won the day, And then Frank is like looking at all the rest of the food, like, you guys did so great. And then he looks up into the frozen food section, and all of the other humans from the store are just like in there dead and frozen. Okay. And then you see like a bunch of peanuts that are like in their shells, and there's like an eyeball. There's like a human eyeball sitting on them, and they're like, oh God, get it off of me. And then you see this fucked up thing. Okay, then there's this like, there's a pool of blood on the floor, of human blood. And then this fucking tampon walks up and like steps in it, and then goes and like soaks it all up. And it's like, ah! And she like starts going crazy. Okay, and then you see Frank and Brenda, and they're like, oh, finally we're together. We can be together. And then they're like, all right, let's do it. And then they start having sex, and you just hear hungry eyes. I look at you in a... So they're like getting it on, and then you see from the other food's point of view, and they're just like rolling around. Okay, and like you keep seeing like Frank like sliding into the bun and stuff like that. It's all funny. And then you see Bagel and Lavash, and Lavash is like, I have to admit, I am not sure how I should feel when I am watching this. And then Bagel is like, yeah, I don't know how to feel either. And then they just like look at each other. And then it turns out that they're in love. And so then they just start fucking. And then all of the fucking there's Lavash and Bagel and fucking Frank and Brenda and the taco. And they all start having this little orgy. And the taco is like eating out Brenda. And Brenda like looks around for Frank. She's like, Frank, where are you? And she turns around and Frank's standing there next to fucking Lavash and Bagel. And he's like, I'm just over here jerking off with these guys. And they're all just like watching the two of them and they're just jerking off. Okay. And then all the food in the entire store, all the products and everything, they all just like, hey, look at that. And they all just start having this giant fucking orgy. Okay. And you start to see, they're all having sex and like, yeah, it turns out this is the great beyond. And then Barry is walking through and he sees something. And he walks up and there's a squished bun. And he's like, hey, you look like you might be a little squished there. You know?
Fucking Michael Cera.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I got squished. And he's like, I really love how your face just like gives up halfway down because she's all squished up. And then, yep, they start fucking. And he's like, yeah, I'm filling her up. I'm filling you up. Because that was his thing. He's like, I'm so little, I'll never be able to fill anyone up. And, you see Grits, Mr. Grits, and he's fucking the box of crackers. He's like, come on, you fucking crackers. You motherfuckers, I'll fucking show you. Take my home away. Okay, and then you see the juice fucking the Hitler mustard. And he's like, oh, God, like he's loving it. And then Frank's like, Barry, you got to come with me. You got to come with me right now. And they're like, okay. And they all go into Firewater's cave. Okay, and in the cave, Firewater is like, yeah, you guys, you did great, okay? But it turns out we're not real. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, it's true that we made up the thing about the gods and everything, but it turns out that we ourselves and our story is not even real. We are actually what's called cartoons. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Like you, Frank, you're voiced by some dipshit actor named Seth Rogan. And they've got this big portal that's like glowing green. And then you see the real Seth Rogen's face. And then he's like looking at Bagel. And he's like, yeah, look at you. And you're actually voiced by some jackass named Edward Norton. And then you see Bagel and he's like, Sammy Bagel Jr. And he's like, Edward Norton? Who the hell would give their son that kind of a cunt name? And he's like, so what we're gonna do is Gum here, and Gum's like, perhaps I can help you. And he's like, he is so fucking smart, man. I mean, he is totally smart. He's like fuck a guy smart, right? And like Bagel and Lavash like look at each other. And he's like, so we're going to go through this Stargate that he just made, and we're going to go, and we're going to stop these assholes from making these movies and shit. And we're going to, like, revolt against them. And so then Frank is like, well, and he looks at Brenda, and he's like, well, what do you think, babe? You want to get baked and then go through the fucking Stargate? And she's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And then they just take a big hit from the kazoo. And then they jump through the Stargate, and it just credits.
Oh.
So there you have it.
All right.
Man.
And then during the credits, you just see, everybody's faces next to their characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was a great movie, man. It was so fucking funny. Oh my God. And you know what? I tried my best here, but you guys all need to go and see that movie. Like as many times as you can.
This is a good episode.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Good job,
I want to see
Ron.
this movie. God.
Yeah, this was a good one, man.
Someone said something about a meta ending, but I guess that's...
Fucking Edward Norton is like...
How else would you fucking end that movie?
What kind of a cunt name is Edward Norton?
So they put it by the ratings board.
Uh-huh.
The ratings board was like...
The thing about the pubic hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Lavash has a set of balls at some point.
Yeah, he's like all folded up when he's walking around. Like he's like rolled up. And at one point he like pulls his front up and you can see his balls.
Okay. Well, the filmmakers, they added all this stuff. They were like, oh, this is going to get cut. Oh, this is going to get cut. But they just put it in there just for fun. Mm-hmm. And they ran it by the ratings board. And the ratings board was like, take the hair off of Lavash's balls and you've got an R rating. And they're like, holy shit.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's no uncut version of that movie.
Like that's all they had to do. Take the hair off the balls.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie was insane. Me and Heather were talking, and I was like, man, before we went to see it, because we knew what was gonna, we knew it was R-rated and everything. We're like, man, because the poster is very suggestive if you know what you're looking at. It's just this hot dog with a face, and he's like coming like horizontally and like slightly upward.
Yeah.
And the tagline for the poster says, "A hero will rise." So it just looks like a hard dick, right? But like to a kid, a fucking kid would never get that shit, and even like a stupid parent would not even get it. So I was like, I wonder if any parents like accidentally took their kids to this movie. Because remember, like the regular non-red band trailer is just like, oh, they're eating the food.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of fun. And then after that movie, we were walking out and I was like, man, that was funny. And like the dirtiest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. And she's like, yeah, I pray that no parents accidentally took their kids to it. And I was like, I pray that so many did.
Apparently some theaters showed the previews in front of Finding Dory.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All them kids got to see that shit.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun.
And there you have it.
Thanks, Ron. Did a good job.
All right, buddy.
We love you.
Love you guys.
We'll see you next week.
All right.